The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful lady who is a speaker, author, and coach based out of Charlotte, North Carolina, and has a website called lifeafterloss.me, and she's got a book of the same name. It's on Amazon, and just an amazing speaker, and talks about being a survivor and went through a number of things. And she also shares that information and shows you what purpose is well too, and inspires other women to do the same thing. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from beautiful downtown Charlotte, speaker, author, coach of Life After Loss, Tiara Nicole. Tiara, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, excited to have you as well, too. So you're a speaker, author, coach out of Charlotte, North Carolina. You have a book called Life After Loss, and you also have a website called lifeafterloss.me, and you're also a speaker as well, too, and you basically dedicate your life to motivate others to overcome a number of problems as well, too, and you have an interesting story to tell. And before we get into all that with Life After Loss and more, tell us how you got started.
Yeah, so Life After Loss is actually my third book, so that's exciting.
Okay.
And so I run a nonprofit, but then also for myself, I'm a speaker, author, and a coach. So I'm juggling a lot of different hats there. But the nonprofit is Life After Loss, and then my personal website is tiaranicoleriley.com. But with that, how I got started, I'd like to think I was just stumbling into my purpose. So I wrote my first book as a journaling experience. It wasn't even intended to be a book. So the first book is 23 and Finally Loving Me. I just spent a year focused on self-love, healing, development, growth in all areas, and journaled the process. At about 25, I decided it should be a book because I realized my words could help other people get through their story. So my willingness to be transparent could help someone who's dealing with similar struggles. And then I became a speaker. I'm a part of a sorority called Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated. And my chapter president wanted to do a women's empowerment event. And I was just willing to coordinate it, get it all together. And one day she asked, she's like, I wonder if we have any authors in the chapter. And I was like, well, my book will be out by then. And she's like, well, duh, you need to be speaking. And I was like, oh, okay. And so just being obedient to that call. And then in that moment, that's when I realized, like, wow, like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. And then I became a business coach because people kept asking, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? So I just developed content to really help entrepreneurs of any industry, but who are starting out. And we work through creating a solid foundation so that they can grow strategically and have sustainable growth. Because a lot of times we have really creative people who are great at what they do, but if you don't have the right processes in place, you're not ready for growth. So that's what I work on with my clients, is making sure that they're ready to grow, because they're all talented in their respective rights. So I come in and create that structure and that foundation so that they can grow from there.
That is amazing, too. And what was that one moment that precisely influenced you into what you're doing, especially with Life After Loss?
Yes. So Life After Loss was founded in honor of my twins. In 2016, I miscarried twins. And in that moment, I realized there's not a lot of how behind how you're supposed to grieve. A lot of the resources say, oh, it takes time. Oh, just give yourself space to grieve. And I'm like, okay, but what am I supposed to do to actually heal from the grief? Because when I was surviving the grief of the miscarriage initially, I wanted to make sure that I grieved completely, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in pain. I knew I would miss my twins for the rest of my life, and I knew I would think of them for the rest of my life, but I didn't want to stay in that place of pain where I couldn't talk about it. I couldn't think about it. And I really wanted to make sure I healed completely the first time. So after going through that process and kind of getting on the other side, the third book came to pass. My mom recommended, she said, you should be the resource you needed. Because I had searched high and low looking for answers on what to do with grief. So the book is really just what I found, what worked, what didn't work, some suggestions, because everyone's grieving process is different. But I offer suggestions and a process to really give tangible answers to getting through grief, and not only how to survive the grief, but there's a whole chapter dedicated to how do you support people through that process, because I realized there wasn't a lot of information for my family either. My mom didn't know what to do. My sister didn't know how to address it and deal with it, and also recognizing that I wasn't the only one grieving. Everyone who was hoping for a baby and ended up with an angel has a grieving process to go through, not just me as their mother.
And that's an amazing as well, too. Just offers 10 steps for surviving. Maybe just, give us a few steps and just to give us some ideas about surviving the grieving process.
Yeah, so a couple of the steps are like one of the steps is grieving completely, allowing yourself to cry the ugly cry, allowing yourself to sit in it for a little bit. Another part of the grieving process, especially when it comes to grieving the loss of a miscarriage, is forgiving yourself. So asking those questions like, what did I do wrong? And why me? And I really had to go through that. So I have 8 nieces and nephews between the ages of 2 and 8, or as of today. So I'm like, my family is clearly fertile. Why couldn't I carry? What was wrong with my body that I couldn't deliver my healthy children? So learning to forgive yourself. But then there's another chapter dedicated to forgiving God and understanding that, God has his reasons for everything, but what do you do with that anger? What do you do when the God you serve lets your children die? Like, how do you work through that process? And as I stated earlier, there's a chapter dedicated to, it's a bonus chapter, but a chapter dedicated to how do you support people? What can you say? What shouldn't you say? Why shouldn't you say those things? I heard a lot of things like, oh, it was in God's plan, or, oh, you're young, you can have another baby, or because I miscarried the twins 3 weeks apart, I heard people tell me, well, at least you still have one child left. And while those statements may be true, they're hurtful. And so not only expressing what may be hurtful and why, but also expressing alternatives, like things you can say, like, how I want to be here for you. What do you need from me?
Mm-hmm.
I can see that you're hurting and I care about your heart. How can I support you through this process?
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are better alternatives because it gives people the opportunity to express what they need as opposed to you telling them what they need.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the other misconceptions when it comes to miscarriage?
A lot of the misconceptions that I've seen is that you're alone, because we don't talk about miscarriage a lot. It feels like such a personal issue when the reality is 1 in 4 women struggle to conceive or miscarry, and 1 in 5 confirmed pregnancies ended miscarriage. That means you went to the doctor, had a heartbeat, went home with the sonogram, and it still ended in a miscarriage. And that's just of the confirmed pregnancies. There are plenty of people who miscarry and didn't even know they were pregnant. So, it's way more common than we discuss. And that inability to discuss it and the fact that it is such a taboo subject really leaves people feeling like it's just them in that moment, and not realizing that it happens to a lot of people. And the more open I've been with my story, the more open I've heard other people say, yeah, I've miscarried as well. Or, my middle child was a miscarriage. Like, we talk about the children that are around, but how often are we speaking about the angels that we're missing? Because they're still in our heart.
Mm-hmm.
But we're carrying that pain so silently. And then I think another myth is that the woman is the only one who grieves, when that's just not true.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not true. The grandparents, the godparents, the aunts, the uncles, the father, everyone has a grieving process. And I know a lot of people who, like when I do speaking engagements, they'll come up to me and say, oh, well, I didn't miscarry, but my sister did. And I'm like, that was your niece or nephew. Like, you have a right to grieve that baby. And just giving you permission to grieve regardless of your relation to that baby. Now, granted, the mother, felt the baby in some cases, or, had that physical relationship. But everyone who knew that baby was coming had an emotional relationship.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, you talk about, serving as a grieving process, explain the 10 steps as well, too. Does the book also encourage to get with other people who have also suffered miscarriages and also get some counseling and also get with support groups, or even like with social media?
Yeah, so actually the 10th step is each one reach one, because it's so powerful to be able to help people through that process. And one of the most important things that I did during my grieving process, I was in therapy every week, and I still am to this day. And it's not that I'm grieving so heavily, but you never know when those dark times are coming. And what I've learned is being in the grieving stages being in a therapeutic relationship allows you to process those grieving stages as they come and go. Because even though I feel like I have grieved completely, because it's been about 3.5 years since the miscarriage, there are still triggers that come. Mother's Day is difficult. My due date is difficult. The day I actually delivered them is difficult. My birthday is difficult because I found out one twin was dead on my birthday.
Oh, my goodness.
All of those moments they trigger every single year. And so it's important to have resources in place, not only a therapist, but to have people in your circle who have experienced it that you can talk about it with. And just being able to, whether that's a support group in person, whether that's social media support groups, there's a plethora of support groups on Facebook. But it just really helps you understand you're not alone. And that's the most important part.
And, of course, social media helps as well, too. And we'll talk more about that along with your other expertise. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today at 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here, speaker, author, coach of Life After Loss. Also available on Amazon. Tiara Nicole here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Tiara, you also do some, some speaking as well, too, and you also cover a number of topics as well, too, along with being a coach, like in social media management, goal setting, self-love, and more. And we talked about social media in terms of your book, Life After Loss, but also management is also most important, and it's also quite a challenge that has contributed to a number of factors. It can be good, but there's also some bad as well, too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one thing that has helped me prior to becoming an entrepreneur, my professional experience was in retail management.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for that opportunity because it helped me understand what it takes to successfully run a business. At one of my previous employers, I was running $110 million in business.
Wow.
With over 400 employees. So I have the experience and years of experience, not only how to hire the right team, but how to motivate your team and understanding what it takes to run a business. And so I'm grateful for those experiences, even though retail is such a daunting industry, particularly around the holiday times.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that it taught me is it taught me how to balance everything that it goes into managing a business. So now that I'm a full-time entrepreneur and I'm in the process of hiring staff, I'm able to work through that process a lot more successfully, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it as well, too. And of course, talking about retail and some of the other things, the pandemic has also taken a hit as well, too. And how have you guys managed the pandemic during these times?
Yes. So COVID has taught us how to pivot. And to do it with grace. So our nonprofit, Life After Loss, we were hosting a women's empowerment event in March, and literally 24 hours before the event, the library closed where we were hosting it. And so, that was a challenge that we had to face, but that challenge became an opportunity for us to grow and develop. Mm-hmm. So we ended up postponing the event. But what we did, every September, we host our annual Loving Me conference. Mm-hmm. So we offered free upgrades to everyone who had purchased a ticket. But then also at the end of March, we hosted our first virtual workshop just to make sure that our participants got the information. And that went so well that we decided to start doing free virtual workshops every month on different topics. And so what that taught us was you could have done one or two things when COVID came. You could have said, woe is me, I can't run my business, this sucks, I'm just doomed for failure. Or you can say, okay, how are we going to progress forward? And the companies that are learning to pivot amongst challenges, because none of us saw COVID coming, none of us saw the impact coming, but if you learn how to pivot and make those adjustments gracefully, you might discover a whole new side of your business that the audience is wanting. So now we can connect with so many other different people. Our first workshop, we had someone calling in from Jamaica.
Oh my goodness.
Like a nonprofit in Charlotte having reach on different time zones and different continents. Like, how cool is that? But we would have never known that had we not made the decision to pivot as opposed to just throwing in the towel. So I think any business really should look at how they're responding to COVID, because not that we hope COVID comes again, but there are going to be challenges that come. How are you choosing to respond to it? And what's your perspective in that moment? And that's going to make or break your business.
Mm-hmm. And of course, too, you also have another topic of expertise. You talked about self-love as well, too, one of your specialties. You can just tell us about that.
Yes, the self-love journey is really at the foundation of everything. Like, once you get that lesson down, you're practically unstoppable. And the reality is, I say that as someone who, on my 23rd birthday, I realized, like, I don't genuinely love myself. I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of insecurities, some of which I'm still processing and dealing with. But the reality is, until you learn to love yourself, it shows up in your dating life. It shows up in your friendships. It shows up in your professional life. It shows up in your academic life. It shows up in your business. It shows up everywhere. And as you start to do the work required for self-love, you'll see those signs everywhere. And you're like, oh, okay, let me start working on that. But the self-love journey is a lifetime journey. It's something that because you continue to grow. You continue to process different habits and triggers and understanding who you are. But it starts with alone time. If you're so consumed with TV, there's different time. It's different between not having people around you and genuinely spending time alone. So if you're always on social media, always watching TV, you're not really spending time alone with yourself. You're busying your time. And cluttering up your space. So until you start really spending time alone, journaling, exercising, in therapy, like doing that self-work, which is really difficult. It's really hard to process a lot of the things that we've accepted as norms. But when you do that and you get to the other side, life is so much better.
Mm-hmm. And of course, that's the thing with today's youth as well, too. It's just like, social media being a common challenge, contributing to depression, suicidal attempts, cyberbullying, so much more. And of course, some don't know how to set goals as well, too. And how would today's youth minimize the negative effects of social media while, making it a very effective tool?
Yeah, so one thing that you can definitely start with is setting boundaries. So making sure that you're not on social media all the time. And most smartphones have screen time limits now where you can say, I only want to spend no more than an hour on social media, and your phone will lock it out for you. So learning to set those boundaries, but also learning who you should and should not be following. So making sure that you're using social media as inspiration. Follow the right people and unfollow the people who are negative, who are stagnant, who aren't really doing anything with their lives, and instead start to follow people who motivate you to be better, who push you to be the best version of yourself. And like when I scroll through social media, I'm encouraged. But it's because I made the conscious decision to follow the right people. And every time I see like a profile that's just negative or woe is me or always complaining about something, I hit unfollow. And if I run into a profile where, they're saying something rude to me, I block them. Mm-hmm. Like, use the tools that are available to you to set parameters for your social media usage, and then social media becomes a positive. But still, you want to use it within limits. So even good things, you still want to do within moderation. Because even with all that inspiration, I still can't spend my whole day on social media. I have to go live my life and work on the goals that I have for my life. Set limits, set boundaries, become a great friend of the unfollow and block options. That is definitely something I'm a huge fan of. There's even mute options. So if you don't want people to know that you unfollowed them, you can just mute them so you don't see what they're posting. But getting really comfortable with that option so that when you are scrolling through social media, you're seeing the good stuff. Because there's good stuff out there. You just have to declutter the bad stuff out.
Right. And of course, in terms of goal setting as well, too, I should do something like that, too. Mute, follow, unfriend, and everything. It's like, that's one of my goals. And another goal as well, too, that why is it important for the youth these days to set goals and how to set goals and accomplish them?
Absolutely. So I'm very passionate about the youth, so much so every event that I've ever hosted, teens are always free. Always. And we're doing one thing new now where we're allowing teen businesses to have free vendor tables. So we're really big on empowering the youth. And the thought behind that is if we can give them the information we're learning in our 20s and 30s and above, like how powerful would they be if they learned it in their teens? And taking that opportunity to really expose the youth. But goal setting is definitely something I love discussing with the youth because it's such a life skill. Once you get goal setting down, and not just, I know we all talk about SMART goals and it becomes this like mundane subject, but how many times are you hearing goals that don't have deadlines or aren't specific or don't have a measurable component to it? I hear it all the time when I ask my clients, like, what's your goal for this? What's your goal for that? And they're like, oh, I want to grow my business. Okay, but what does that look like? And by when? Like, let's get some specificity so that we can actually accomplish those goals, and making sure that your goal doesn't have an opinionated answer. Like, you should be able to look at that goal and say, yes, I did it, or no, I did not. And having it as a measurable goal allows you to track your progress and celebrate milestones. So yes, SMART goals is a mundane topic, but we still haven't gotten it. We still haven't learned that lesson. Like, every goal that you set should be specific, measurable, and time bound. I believe everything is attainable, it should be relevant. But the three that I see missing the most are having deadlines, letting it be specific, and making sure that it's measurable. But once you get that goal set, and then learning to break it down into actionable steps, like, that's how you accomplish the goals that you set for your life.
It sounds like you got a lot accomplished as well, too. Once again, we're on with Tiara Nicole here on the Mike Wagner Show, speaker, author, coach, and also has a book called Life After Loss. And what's the website we can find all your information on being a speaker, author, and coach?
Yeah, so it's TiaraNicoleRiley.com.
TiaraNicoleRiley.com. Okay, we're going to talk about what's coming up for Tiara Nicole Riley and more, but first listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look on a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition way. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 10% off your first order. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with Tiara Nicole, speaker, author, and coach, and also the author of Life After Loss on Amazon here on the Mike Wagner Show. Talked about some of the things she's in. A lot of expertise, social media management, goal setting, self-love, and talk about her book, Life After Loss, about the grieving process. And you've got some great things going, Tiara. And what do you have coming up in 2020 and beyond? What can we expect from you?
Yeah, so a lot of exciting things. So this September 18th through the 20th in Charlotte, North Carolina, we'll be hosting our 4th annual Loving Me conference. So you can visit lovingme2020.eventbrite.com to learn more. It's a 3-day conference full of personal and business development, workshops, panels, networking, vendors, lots of good stuff. Also, I host my own podcast, the Chasing Dreams podcast, on all platforms. More information about that is on my website, TiaraNicoleRiley.com/host. So you can definitely find out information there. My nonprofit, Life After Loss, is doing monthly virtual workshops. So definitely make sure you check us out. Every month we're doing something fun. June is National Soul Food Month, so we have some chefs coming out. July, we're having a training on social media marketing. So lots of really, really exciting topics coming up. Additionally, I have my books, I have my statement tees, and then on top of that, I do offer my coaching services. So if you're looking for a business coach, definitely check out my website, TiaraNicoleRiley.com/coach, and you can schedule a free consultation so we can see if it's a good fit for you.
It sounds like you got a lot of good things going as well, too, Tiara, and I'm so happy for you on that. So,
Thank you.
All right, no problem. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Tiara?
So many people. On a grand scale, some of my mentors that don't know I exist yet include Michelle Obama, Oprah, Beyonce, and Candy Burris. And so those are some of the people that I look up to on a grand scale. But then also I have like my mom, who's been in business for 20 years.
Wow.
I have a lot of really solid mentors who not all of them are in business, but they all see the greatness in me and encourage me on such a great level. I'm connected to so many amazing people. I have a friend who's an attorney, a friend who's a medical doctor, a friend who's a PhD therapist. Like, I have so many friends doing amazing things, and it constantly, even though we're in different venues, it pushes me to be the best version of myself, because they show up as the best version of themselves as well. So I'm connected to so many people, and I'm grateful for that, because they really keep me going through some of those dark times.
It sounds amazing too. You got a lot going, and what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
The best advice that I can give is I'm gonna borrow from Nike and say, just do it. I have to.
Too easy. I'm gonna get some Michael Jordans afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is so many people have grand ideas, and we spend a lot of time getting stuck in the research phase. Oh, well, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. And let me look in this. Let me research that. Just do it. You learn so much more taking action than you will just thinking about it. So just take that action and be consistent with it. For the last 3 years I've run my business, I've literally worked on my business every single day. So the results that you're starting to see now are based on seeds that I planted 3-4 years ago. But every day I do something that benefits my business. Some days it's 30 minutes, some days it's 10 hours. But every day before I go to sleep, I've done something to benefit my dream.
Mm-hmm. And that is amazing as well too. We love to be like you, Tiara. And then just a couple of things. Once again, Tiara Nicole, speaker, author, coach here on the Mike Wagner Show, also the author of Life After Loss on Amazon. And we'd like to thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon, and keep us up to date. And once again, tell us about your upcoming projects, what's your website, how do people contact you, and where can people purchase your books?
Absolutely. So I'm on all platforms at Tiara Nicole Riley. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. I'm there, YouTube. And then also you can check out my website, tiaranicoleriley.com. I have some digital trainings that can help you get through your processes. I have my books, my t-shirts, all kinds of fun stuff. But every platform at Tiara Nicole Riley.
That's fantastic. Once again, Tiara, big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love to have back on 2020 and beyond, and keep us up to date. You've been great.
Thank you so much.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.